uses 57 barrel of oil equivalents of crude oil, natural gas, and coal. If we convert those things into oil, 1 barrel of oil has 5.7 million British thermal units worth of energy. If you translate that into work potential, it's 1,700 kilowatt hours worth of work. And you or I, in one day, could generate around zero point 0.6 kilowatt hours of work. You're pretty fit, so you might be able to do zero point 0.8 or 1 maybe. But on average, a human working an 8-hour day generates around 0.6 of a kilowatt hour of work, meaning a barrel of oil, which we pay $100 for, can displace 4.5 years of yours or my physical labor. A gallon of gasoline is like 2 months of our work. So we are using, as a global culture, 100 billion barrel of oil equivalents of coal, oil, and natural gas every year. So if each of those is worth 4.5 years of human labor, we're adding roughly the equivalent of 500 billion human worker equivalents to the real 5 billion human worker equivalents. We're paying pennies on the dollar for this because what we're doing is all our economic system is doing is paying for the cost of extraction. How much does it cost us to go into the Permian Basin and pull that ancient sunlight out and add it to our economies? That's what the economists look at. We're not paying for the tens of millions of years of creation, nor of the pollution like climate change and ocean acidification. So why is this a problem? Because this stuff, we're treating it culturally as if it were interest. But the reality is we're drawing down the principal, as I said 10 million times, faster than it was sequestered. So what we did in the United States is we used the Beverly Hillbillies oil, the really high quality, easy to access oil first. Then we went to the North Slope of Alaska, which isn't even contiguous to us, but it's part of our country, and got that oil. Then we went into the Gulf of Mexico and went under the ocean to access oil. Now, in the last 10 years, we've had the shale oil revolution, which is we drill down and have these horizontal fracturing technology that sucks it out really fast, but it depletes really fast. So one of these new horizontal shale wells will deplete at 80% in the first 18 months. So we need to drill again to get more. So what's happening now is we've reached the source rock, the formations in our country where the oil originated. All the oil that we've had for the last 50, 60, 70 years originated there. There's nothing left after that. So let me tell you this fact, and this is something that hardly anyone pays attention to. Because why? Because we can get plenty of energy today. It's a little more costly, but there's still plenty available. If we were to stop drilling for environmental reasons, for lack of capital, for political reasons, for any reason at all, our oil production in the United States, which is around 12 million barrels a day right now, and we consume 20 million, by the way, so we're still importing a good deal of what we consume. If we stop drilling, our oil production would drop by 40% the first year, and by like 25% the second year, and 20% the third year. And that's because all the oil wells that we've drilled in the past are depleting rapidly, and a higher and higher percentage of our oil production is this tight oil, the shale oil that depletes rapidly. So we're like this Red Queen, Alice in Wonderland scenario where we have to run faster and faster just to stay in place. And so the reason this is a problem is oil is the master resource, and it underpins everything in globalization, our transportation, global supply chains, the complexity of our system. And the other aspect of energy that we don't quite understand is people say, oh, well, if oil's running out, we'll just go to solar and wind. And solar and wind are viable, they're robust, they're mature, they're not terribly expensive. But first of all, they are electricity. Okay, so solar, wind, geothermal, all those things produce electricity, and electricity is only around 21% of global energy use. The rest is heat and liquid fuels and other things like and transportation, things like that. The other challenge with renewables is that they're intermittent. So we have to either couple them with something like natural gas, which we can turn on right away when there's a power demand. You live in Texas, you know what's happening right now this week. You can't have everything running and everything growing. There are limits. And if you have a heat wave like you do right now and it's really still and the wind isn't blowing, you could have 5 times as much wind installed as you do today, and it's still not going to give you power. So you have to have natural gas or something like that as a complement, or batteries, or use less. And the use less part is not in our political conversation, but it's coming, in my opinion. And the sooner that individual people start changing their perception of energy services and what does it really mean to live a good life? Do I need all this energy and stuff? The more pilots and examples we'll have of different cultural paths. So well, I don't even know that you are. You just look like you are a bodybuilder and a weightlifter. So you probably think about calories and things like that. So the average American consumes via our mouth around 2,000 kilocalories a day. We actually consume more than that because we waste a lot. So it's like 3,000. But in our bodies internally consume 2,000 calories a day. But the average American consumes 210,000 kilocalories a day worth of energy. If you take the 330 million people in America and then you divide that into all of the energy that we use, the coal, the oil, the natural gas, the solar, the wind, the nuclear, it works out to about every human living in America consumes 210,000 kilocalories a day, 100 times more than our bodies need for physical metabolism. Now, we need probably more than that. We need a roof over our heads. We need food. We need hospitals and things like that. But do we need 100 to 1? So Europe uses 50 to 1, 50 times more than their bodies need. But the United States uses around 4 times the global average.
Why do you think that is?
Of energy. Well, we, first of all, happen to be born in a country that was blessed with a geology of having lots of fossil hydrocarbons here. Secondly, we had the most powerful country in the world the last century. And so we were able to do during various Bretton Woods and Plaza Accords, the international financial order revolves around the US dollar. So the US dollar receives the seigniorage or the economic benefit from being the world's reserve currency, because other countries need the same things that we do, but they have to buy them because they're denominated in US dollars. So it's this huge international economic tailwinds for the United States because we have 85% of our own energy, whereas Europe is like a tiny fraction of that. Japan has hardly any of their own energy. So we have this energy bounty that is the foundation of our economies, and we have the world's reserve currency and the largest, most trusted central bank. But these things are not, they're not, our God-given right, and they don't naturally persist for centuries. I think in the next decade, a lot more people are going to understand how central energy is to our lives.
So to kind of try and
What is driving